Hello, everybody, and welcome to Pocket Coach. Let me share my screen real quickly here, and you can see my 5-minute timer is just about ready to start. Let's get rid of the Zoom screen. All right. So today's experiment is value stream mapping. I cannot tell you how many people struggle with this, understanding it, succeeding with it. So I'm hoping to demystify that. This one might take 10. We'll see what happens in 5. But for what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to show you some of the ways these fail, and I'm going to show you the way I do, what I've learned and how I succeed now. All right, so 5-minute timer started. So first off, what's the problem we're trying to solve with the value stream map? There's lots of different uses for them, but overall, one of the bigger ones is that companies are investing in all these accelerators, but they don't even know where their bottlenecks are. And it turns out that if you accelerate a non-bottleneck area, you actually will make things worse. So to not have a value stream, but to be funding like agile and improvement initiatives is a terrible idea, because you might actually be making things worse and you're investing all this money in that. There's a book, The Goal. In one of the companies I worked in, if you wanted to be called an agile leader, table stakes were that you've read the book The Goal, right? So, and that you can articulate the theory of constraints in your own words. And when I heard that, I was like, I don't know that I could articulate that. So I went and read the graphic novel version on my Kindle, and now I can. But so I love that idea, and this all falls into that space. Okay. So a hypothesis here is that if we get a group think together and visualize the real flow of value, no one person knows it, so you need a group think session. You get that together and you will find the true bottlenecks, and now you'll actually invest in the right places to accelerate your flow. If you do this, you should see your product KPIs get better. You should see your flow metrics get better as well. So skill growth criteria, what do you have to do to earn this particular skill badge? You've mapped a value stream in the context of a business goal to be achieved or solved. We'll talk about that in a minute. A lot of people just do value streams because that's a thing you're supposed to do. It's not okay. You've identified bottlenecks in the value stream. You've identified experiments to improve those value streams, and then you actually executed the experiment and look back at the KPIs or the flow metrics and have seen an improvement because of it. In fact, your bottleneck might shift to a different place now, right? And then new experiments follow. Okay, so let's take a look. So first off, value stream mapping seems like it'd be easy to do. When I first saw them, I'm like, this sounds easy and fun. And so here in 5 bullets are what you're doing. What is your product? What trigger do you need to start the flow? What value does the flow result in? What are the steps to add value, and where are the bottlenecks, right? So it seemed like they wouldn't be super hard to do. So why is it so hard? I actually have done probably 5 value stream workshops where I did not get good value from them at different clients, and it's embarrassing and it's frustrating, but it was true. And so finally, after about 5 of failures, I started to get the hang of it and started to actually get value from them. So here is my list, 1 through 9, of what makes them hard. And I actually put this list and I hang it in the room or expose it in the Miro board if we're doing it remote, right? I have this up at all times so that when people start misbehaving, I can go back to this list and say, remember this list that we walked through? We're doing it, right? And it's funny because they start calling each other out, which is really helpful. So let's take a look at these 9 ways that I have failed to do value streams successfully. Number 1, teams aren't trying to solve some kind of business problem or achieve some sort of business goal, right? You need a goal. You need a reason to be doing the value stream. Why are we value streaming? If you don't have that very clear, then value stream is an exercise in bookkeeping, right? It's storytelling. It's not solving anything. Number 2, some of my companies are like, we have so many products and so many value streams. Like, where do we even begin? So if you how do you find a place to begin? Well, the business goal will tell you that, right? The business goal will have a context. And then once you have that context, you can ask, okay, of all the products, I get it, you have a lot of products. So which is the one that most achieves that goal or most would impact that goal in a positive or negative manner? That's the one we start with. And you don't have to do them all. We don't have to map every value stream. If we map one, we'll accidentally improve a whole bunch of them. So don't stress out. Pick one that's aligned with our business goal. Number 3, we don't agree on what a product even is. So we have to make sure we define that very well. Number 4, this happens all the time. I'll be in the middle of a session and people will start talking about how stupid it is to do a value stream. I'm like, look, we're all here. We've all committed to doing it. Why are we again arguing its value? We're here. We're doing it. How about let's get it done, and then we can argue that it wasn't actually a valuable thing, right? So it's really weird. It's a form of resistance that people want to argue not to do it versus just do it. Strange, but it happens almost all the time. Number 5, not understanding the difference between a process map and a value stream. So a process map is a detailed set of steps and there's no real limit on it. A value stream, we focus only on handoffs from one group to another group in order to achieve values. So that's a big difference, and it makes the value streams tighter and smaller. Okay, that's my first 5 minutes. I'm going to set my second timer. I kind of figured I would have to go at least 2. I never go over 15 though. All right, so second 5 minutes. So if you remind people that a value stream step, you don't need to put 3 steps down if it's the same team doing all 3 steps. If it's the same department, whatever, doing all 3 steps, you don't need to put that all 3. Just summarize them into 1 step. What we're looking for is the handoffs. Okay. So next up is oh yeah, there's a team is more interested in debating details. Oh no, that's a different one. So the other thing is people try to go too deep. And as a facilitator, you have to help them say, look, if we go to that level of depth, we're never going to get done with this. We have to stick to a higher level so we can get our first pass. We can go into detail steps if that's the bottleneck area. But if it's not the bottleneck area, I don't need to know all those details right now. Okay. And we don't know yet if it's the bottleneck area. Number 7, we don't have the right people in the room. That one is less of a problem than it used to be for me. I used to have the right people, but now I've learned even with the wrong people, I can get a start on a value stream. And now when I get to the right people, I don't have a blank page. And they're like, oh, a lot of mistakes in this one. I'm like, yeah, your folks are putting this together. So what does that tell you? You need this map because no one else knows what the flow is. So it's actually a positive for me now when I don't have the right people. I mean, no, it's a positive if I have the right people, but it's not as big a negative. No one knows who's working on what. So that's actually happened. And so in those cases, you need to just walk the value stream. Some people like to walk them from the back to the front. Other people like to walk front to back. The nice thing about back to front is you're like, okay, let's go to the end, the last people to work and ask them what the problems are. And so they'll tell you all the things that are wrong here at the end. And then as you walk back up the value stream, you'll identify even more things. So that's a nice strategy. When no one knows who's doing what, start with the last step, work backwards. And you'll be like, okay, so what do you consume? And that might tell you, oh, I didn't even realize that was a step. And so that'll help you also identify those steps that you didn't know existed. What else? The last one here, number 9, not sure what to do with the value stream once it's been drawn up. Again, if you do number 1 correctly, where you actually have a business context, it becomes pretty apparent what to do with the value stream. But mostly it's about identifying the bottleneck and going and targeting that bottleneck to make it better, and then continuously finding new bottlenecks and making those better as well. So it's about improving the bottleneck. How do you improve the bottleneck? That's where agile comes in. That's where lean comes in. That's where all these great initiatives come in. Okay. So those are all the ways that it was hard and all the ways that I failed and overall what you're trying to do. So I have used like the SAFES approach for value stream mapping before. That didn't work for me. And so this is the technique I kind of settled on. After reading the books, after doing actual value stream maps with the SAFE kit, this is what ended up working well for me. So first of all, you want to pick the most troubled value stream. That super bullet is really, without that, don't bother. Right. So I say most troubled, but again, my mindset has shifted since I wrote these slides. So it's really the one that's most aligned with your business goal. Okay. And that business goal might be, if you do a SWOT, for example, it might be a threat or a weakness that you're trying to, shore up, but it could also be an opportunity that you're trying to pursue. So, so trouble doesn't necessarily, it's just most impactful to the business goal. Okay. Once you've picked that product, okay. And so one of the ways I help teach people the mindset is that value stream and product are synonyms. So for example, the Happy Meal is my favorite thing to teach with here. So the Happy Meal is the product. The value stream would be all the people and steps it takes and systems it takes to release more value into the Happy Meal product, right? So the value stream is just a way of work, the steps to add value to the final product. So really, this is the most troubled product or the most valuable product for our business goal. So once you've picked the product, and I'm going to have to update these slides to be more product focused now. But once you've picked that product, now you're going to map your value stream for that product. How do we flow value into it? You're going to need to capture the KPIs of that value stream. And I have techniques, IDEEM and Equip that I use. I've had videos on those already. And then we also want to capture the product KPIs. So the value stream KPIs are your flow metrics. The product KPIs are the ones about the product itself. Okay. Then we got to identify the bottlenecks. Where is it that we don't love either our quality or our speed or our throughput, right? After that, we need to craft improvement experiments. And there's a whole reusable set of improvement experiments. Plus, we can be creative and come up with ones that no one's ever thought of before. Then we execute those experiments. And then finally, we measure the results. So if you think about it, the mapping is just step one. That's the workshop, right? After that, you still have to do all these other things in order to get the value from your value stream. All right, that's my second 5 minutes. So I am going to do a third 5. And in this last 5, I'm just going to spin a couple slides just so you can get kind of a feeling for what I do in order to achieve these steps here. So if not, thanks for watching. If you're interested, you can keep on going. So this is my candidate agenda for the actual value stream mapping. Identify the targets of improvement. Identify your customers, products, or services. Identify, like, et cetera. I'm not going to read this to you. That's boring. So you can just pause and read this to yourself. I'm going to spin through the steps. Okay. So first off, what problem are we trying to solve, right? What is the business goal we're trying to achieve? It works best when we're trying to solve, if we have an unhappy customer, a struggling product or service, a difficult initiative, a team that's struggling, and team could be a department, a large team, or a small team. We think our architecture may not be value stream aligned or team architecture. All right. So that's a big part of SAFe. Principle number 10, the only principle that was added later, is because people aren't getting that they need to align to value, but not reorganize. And so they have a dual operating system where the org chart doesn't get changed, but the value streams are aligned to value and permeate org charts. What I have my customers doing all the time is that they form value streams within a single part of the org chart. So they're using it as a management system to get transparency on their teams, not as a value stream enabler, right? That shows true value across the organizational silos. So that's a big problem. Anyway, so these are great, but don't forget, it's also any business opportunity. So whatever your opportunity is, or your threat is, or whatever, that's what should be driving your value stream. So if you haven't done a SWOT analysis, if you haven't done a strategy workshop, I have another video on how to do a strategy workshop. Go do that first, then start thinking about value streams to help you achieve your desires in your strategy workshop. Okay. Then what tells us that we have a problem, if it is a problem, or what tells us if we've succeeded, if it's going to be a goal? And so who specifically is unhappy? What product are they struggling with, right? Which initiative and how, and what way are they struggling? Like, we need to get a little specific as to the root of the problem or the solution we're pursuing. Okay, so we call this thing the problem to be solved, and we put this right on our value stream canvas so we don't lose sight of why we're all here. Okay. Identify the customers, products, services, and teams. So here, who is your customer that consumes, that we're targeting? What is the product or service that we're targeting? And who is the team that's going to be delivering the product and service to the customer? We need to make sure we understand all those things. We need to figure out the trigger. What makes flow start? So like Happy Meal improvement, either happy. What starts our journey of value, of adding value to the Happy Meal? And then what's the end state? The meal is now widely available in the market, right? So here are some examples. So patient care. Oh, and you can do this fun little from trigger to end state. So patient care, patient arrival to payment received, bank loan requested to loan repaid, automobile manufacturer, order received to automobile delivered, etc. So you can see, look at software application, app requested to end of life of the app, right? Talk about DevOps, right? Annual audit, etc. So make sure that you understand your trigger and end state and state it and put that right on your canvas as well. Identify the flow item. So this is something I didn't see in the SAFe kit at all. The flow item. What is a thing that is flowing? And I think that's because in SAFe, they're really focused on development teams. And so the flow item is a feature. And what's funny is a lot of my clients, they don't see the features of flow item. They use it as a container of stories. It's not a flow item. It is not the thing of value. So it becomes impossible then to help them accelerate their arts if they don't see features as their unit of value. But and the business level, patient care might be a patient, a bank loan might be the loan request, an automobile manufacturer might be an automobile order, right? Or it could be a car itself. A software application would be the application request, or an application might even be a better. In fact, since it goes to end of life, you don't end of life a request. So this should really be an application. And then an audit would be the audit report, might be the flow item. Okay, so then you map out your steps. It's usually in the area of 3 to 10 when it comes to handoffs of value. Remember that you're only focusing on handoffs. Identify the people. So each of those steps has people that does it. Articulate your product KPIs. So here's where I use the equip technique, which is another video. Identify the bottlenecks. So consider the value stream metrics for lead time, process time, percent complete and accurate, activity ratio. These are all right out of the book for value stream mapping. What are your KPI improvement goals? Here I use IDEEM, another technique I've created, etc. So that's it. 15 minutes is my max. Identify experiments to improve, validate hypothesis with thought experiments. Like you can actually think through the experiment without actually executing it to narrow it down, execute your MVPs and evaluate. And that is the last step in this slide deck. So hopefully that kind of got you thinking about how to do value streams correctly. I was really excited to make this video. I am Anthony Crane with Pocket Coach, and I'll catch you on the next one.